name is Katie McFarland with University of Idaho Extension, coming to you from Salmon, Idaho today. We are excited to get started, and we have a lot of fun information to share with you guys. If this is your first time joining Get the Dish, I want to make sure you're aware that you can join other series of Get the Dish. You don't have to just come to this one. So I want to make sure that you guys know about our upcoming sessions. We will be talking about healthy, family-friendly snacks today, but we're going to get started with a quick poll to kind of see who's all here and what everyone has been experiencing with the class. Okay, so it looks like a lot of you've been with us before, so that's exciting. We are excited to have you back to Extension Programming and to Get the Dish. And then I kind of want to see how many of you guys have had any experience in our family meal time. So of course, my mouse is not cooperative. It doesn't like the tablecloth. All right. Okay, cool. So it looks like you guys are somewhat experienced to very experienced with family snacks. So hopefully I have some new ideas to share. And it looks like there's some groups of you guys out there. So a couple of you in two groups of 2 to 3. So we will go ahead and get started with that information. I do want to let you guys know that next week, if you are interested, is going to be a lesson on sourdough. So Abby Weaver, who is here helping as my chat assistant today, will be taking over next week from Colorado State University Extension. And there is a link that we will put in chat if you're interested in signing up for that, if you did not sign up for the whole Get the Dish series. So that'll be available for anyone who's interested in continuing on with our information after today. So that'll be available for you guys if you haven't signed up. Sometimes we sign up for all of them, and sometimes this is your first one and you're excited to learn something new, or you kind of pick and choose what's relatable to you. So whatever works for you guys, but that information's available for you. We'll go ahead and get started. So several of you have said you have some experience making snacks for your families, and that's great. Hopefully I have some new information to share with you guys about snacks for families. I'm a mom of 4. I have a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So I have a wide range of ages and stages that I'm trying to cater to. And just like any family, everyone has their favorites and things they like. And going from the 13-year-old to the 6-year-old, it's a very different set of snacks and quantities and types of foods that are easy to chew and things like that. So I try to keep those things in mind when I talk about the different snacks that I'm going to be sharing with you guys, so that you can tailor them to fit what your family's needs are. There's a handout that goes along with this class that has 3 recipes on it. It's got a homemade granola bar recipe, it's got a homemade beet hummus recipe, and an apple cookie recipe. I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of those, but I will be demonstrating the hummus recipe for you guys. So hopefully that'll give you a feel for how quick and easy it is to make hummus with your family. So when I think about snacks for my family, I always try to make sure they're healthful. Like, I want to make sure they're high in protein. I want to make sure I can up the fiber content in them. I want to make sure they're high in vitamins and minerals. Sometimes I sneak some veggies in there or some fiber in there in different ways. And so, for example, the homemade granola bar recipe, we use whole oats. And so you're getting that extra whole grain and that fiber. Sometimes it's difficult to get our families to eat whole grains, but it's easier when you remember some of the things that are whole grains, like popcorn or oatmeal, that are usually a little bit more family friendly. And so you can sneak those into your recipes and get a whole grain without it looking like a whole grain loaf of bread, which, although I love, my kids don't love as much. So there's different ways that you can incorporate healthful, fiberful things into your snacks. It's important to do that, especially with whole grains and protein, because that's going to leave your family feeling fuller longer. And so it's a more nutrient dense food as a snack, rather than something that might just fill them up for a second, like a bag of chips, but then they're hungry in a few minutes and want another snack. So I always try, I'll spend my whole day in the kitchen making one meal, cleaning it up, making a snack, cleaning it up, and then making another meal on the weekends if I'm not careful. So I try to use snacks that are going to help extend that period before kids need to eat again. But I did say I had a 13-year-old, he's a boy. And so you can imagine how many snacks we're making in our house. So we do that quite a bit, but I try to extend that out by adding a lot of protein and a lot of fiber to those snacks. Ways that we can get our family to enjoy snacks that they may not, if you tell your kids, hey, do you guys want some carrots and dip? They may look at you like, that's really doesn't, I was thinking more along the line of, a bag of chips or something, mom. So there's ways that we can get our families to enjoy things that are a little bit more on the healthy side. And I like to do that by making things fun. I'm that mom that cuts sandwiches into shapes or cheese into shapes and different themes for the holidays. So that's one way to make it more fun. I don't know why a sandwich in the shape of a star tastes so much better than a regular sandwich, but it does. So I like to make things fun and keep things exciting by putting things in different shapes. It's also fun to use fun containers. I am an addict for fun kitchen Tupperwares and gadgets. And so I have lots of fun little colorful containers for my kids with animal faces on it, or animal shaped reusable pouches that we can fill our own yogurt or kind of like a smoothie mix into it. One of my favorite things that my kids love is they love hard-boiled eggs, which is an awesome, easy go-to high protein snack. We have chickens, so we always have eggs. It's an easy one for our household. You can boil a lot of eggs at the beginning of the week and then use them throughout the week without having to do so much prep all week long when it's busy. But I'll peel them because I'm very cognizant of how long it takes my kids to eat snacks, especially for school snacks. The school that my children go to has a very shortened lunch period. And so if it takes too long for them to prepare something to eat, they end up not eating it. So I try to make it as easy as possible. So I'll always peel their hard-boiled eggs and I put them inside of a plastic Easter egg and I put that in their lunch. And then that way the egg doesn't get all squished and nasty like if you put it in a Ziploc bag, and it doesn't take up a whole bunch of space like a big container. And it's fun and colorful. And their friends are always like, what the heck's in your Easter egg in your lunch? Because it's October and there's an Easter egg, but they'll open it up and that's where their hard boiled egg is. So if you can make snacks that maybe don't seem very exciting, like a hard boiled egg, make them fun using different containers, that can get kids excited about them. I also like to think of using food in a different form. So my 6-year-old, she can't chew a carrot stick very quickly. Do I want her to eat carrot sticks? Yes. Is it hard for her? Does it take too long at snack time? Yes. And so a lot of times, my kids as teachers encourage them to eat their vegetables first. So if she sits down and eats her carrot sticks, she's out of lunchtime and she doesn't have time to try anything else. So I like mixing things up with different versions. One of our favorites is carrots, but instead of carrot sticks, they're carrot chips. And so they're cut into these nice little chip shapes, so much easier for little mouths to chew. I love them as a grown-up because they're amazing for dipping. The hummus we're going to make today, these are great for dipping in, and another way to incorporate some more veggies into that snack. I like to sneak in my veggies, but if they're using it as a chip, then it's more fun and more exciting for them to eat it than just a regular old carrot stick. So we do these a lot in our house. I discovered how much easier it is for my kids to eat them, and it just mixes it up. They go through carrots way quicker because they enjoy eating them just by switching up a simple regular food into something different. If you look at the apple cookie recipe on your handout, it's the same thing. We're taking an apple. How many times have we sliced an apple into, little quarters or eighths, and then we dip it in peanut butter? That's a fun snack, but when I cut it so that they're little round circles like a cookie, and take the seeds out of the middle, put it on a plate, and then drizzle peanut butter on top of it. Suddenly, it's this most exciting, delicious snack ever. And my kids have never had apples and peanut butter before. So just changing the shape into something more fun. They love picking up the apple slice like it's a cookie, the melted peanut butter. Their absolute favorite is to put coconut flakes on top and a little bit of chocolate chips. And they think it's this wonderful, delicious treat. But it's a great way to get a little bit of protein in there with your apple, your peanut butter, and a little bit of fiber in with your apple, and have a healthier snack instead of just having, a bag of chips or something. It mixes it up. Things like dehydrated fruit are a fun way to mix up a regular thing and make it something different so that kids can try different things and you're still getting that same healthful food, but it maybe is in a more kid-friendly way or a more exciting way by changing the style of how we feed them those foods. I did say I had 4 kids and I have a job, so I like to make things easy. It's crazy around my house, so sometimes you just have to do what's easy to make sure you have easy, available, healthful snacks. It's so hard to walk into your fridge, open it up, and if you just have a bunch of ingredients to put together either a healthy snack for yourself or for your family. So I always like to make sure I have some go-tos. Some fun things like that are single-serve cheeses. I love the mozzarella cheese sticks because you can write fun little things on them. And so they make it exciting. Around this year, I put little ghost faces on the little cheese sticks and put them in their lunch. So it spices up a cheese stick a little bit, but it's a fun way to mix it up. Easy, single serve. You can just put that one dairy right into your lunch or take it as a snack for after school. I don't know about you guys, but my kids come off school and they are hangry and they are not pleasant to be around. So the first thing we do is we get a snack and then we start talking about what else we'll do with our afternoon. So quick things like a cheese stick. Jerky's great for older family members, hard for little teeth to chew. My 6-year-old will tell you, I can't eat a meat stick because it's hard for her to chew. So keep that in mind. But jerky's a great alternative for a nice high protein, easy, self-packaged snack. Of course, you have your fruits in its natural packaging, like apples or oranges or bananas. I always keep in mind, though, if my kids have to peel an orange, they're less likely to eat it. So if I have it pre-peeled, they'll eat a whole orange. But if I hand them an orange and they have to peel it, they're not going to eat it. Sometimes they will with bananas, but their favorite is if I slice them up on a plate and drizzle a little bit of honey and some pumpkin pie spice or a little cinnamon on top, and they'll eat the heck out of those rather than just a whole banana they have to peel. But something simple and easy to take with you and single serve. Hard-boiled eggs are another one of those easy single-serve foods. And then you can buy prepackaged single-serve things like yogurt packages or peanut butter packages, things like that. You can also make your own. I like to make my own because I like to mix in a little bit of healthful stuff. So like I said, with increasing our protein, I usually mix my kids' yogurt, half regular yogurt and half Greek yogurt, and then I put it into reusable pouches. So it's like a Go-Gurt, but it's higher in protein, lower in sugar. And so if you have those just ready to go and available and take some prep time, if you have that in your schedule, works really great. But you don't have to make everything from scratch. It's all about making it easy for you and your family. So if you have time to meal prep, great. If you don't have time, be cognizant of what you're purchasing so that they're easy grab and go snacks. And it makes it easy to make a healthy choice that's going to be high in protein and fiber and keep you full if they're ready to go and easy to access. So that's always a fun way to kind of incorporate healthful choices by making them easier. It's always a good idea to let your kids help with meal preparations, with choosing their foods, with making their foods. This recipe of the hummus, I've done it with, I don't even know how many preschool classes, and they love making it. And I have never seen more preschoolers eat beets in my life. And typically, if you just put out a plate of beets, preschoolers are not going to be like, whoa, I'm eating all the beets. So we mix it up in this hummus recipe. It makes it really yum. It makes this beautiful pink color, which they think is so cool and exciting because it's this crazy bright color instead of just brown drab. And so they're really into it and they see what goes into it. It's important to involve kids in that process. I also teach a bread class and we made bread once and I had a 9-year-old look at me and go, the crust is just the same part of the bread, just it's what's the outside. They had in their mind that it was something totally different. And so once they discovered it was actually just part of the bread, they were totally cool with eating the crust at that point. So involving your kids can help them become more familiar with the food and be more willing to try it, especially if you're dealing with younger children. They need reintroduced to foods very frequently. If they get to help choose them and they are exciting and they like to be involved with it and want to try it as like a fun game, then they're more likely to eat it and participate. So it's a fun way to get kids involved. Recipes like these are really easy. My kids love prepping uh, their little yogurt containers and things like that. So if you can involve them in the process, it takes some of the work off you and it helps them be more reticent to try the things that you're offering. I make my kids pack their own lunch because when I pack it, they don't eat it. And they say, well, it's because I don't like this, Mom. And I'm not going to pack 5 different lunches between me and the 4 kids. And so I have them pack their own lunch by having options available with there's ready to eat dairy products, there's ready to eat proteins, there's ready to eat grains and veggies and fruit. And they just have to select those things and put them in their lunch. And so making it easy, but letting them have control over it has been really effective for my family to help them get the choices that they want and the things that they're going to more likely eat. So that is kind of the overview of my healthy, family-friendly snacks. It can be things that I've mentioned, or it can be other things that you guys are interested in or your family likes to eat, just maybe thinking how you could incorporate the things you already eat, like the carrots, into a different form and use them differently. I am going to show you guys how to make the hummus recipe. The one included in the handout is for beet hummus. I did not bring the beets today. I actually am going to make a parsley hummus. This recipe is really great because it's really versatile. And my kids prefer the parsley over the beet, and I'll be taking it home as their after school snack today. So we went with parsley instead of beets. But this recipe is really flexible, which makes it fun. You have the ability to switch out either beets, cooked carrots, some cooked squash. If they're a firmer squash, works really well. I wouldn't recommend like zucchini, it's too watery, but cilantro is fun, parsley is fun, different things you can put in it. It makes this beautiful, bright colored hummus, and it makes it fresh and fun, and the kids really like it. So I'm going to go with the parsley instead, but it's the same concept and it'll be the same recipe that you guys have in your handout, just mixing in a different mix in. Making hummus is so easy. And my kids don't love store-bought hummus, but they do really like the homemade hummus. And there was a time in which I was the recipient of a lot of garbanzo beans that nobody else wanted. So we made a lot of hummus, and I kind of discovered that my kids really like hummus. It's a fun, easy snack, and it's another way to boost that protein. So your basic ingredients for hummus is always going to be a can of chickpeas or garbanzo beans. They are interchangeable. I went with a low sodium bean today just because I like to watch the salt intake. Heart disease runs in their dad's side of the family, so I like to make sure that we keep that a little bit lower. You can always add salt to taste, and that's kind of, I think, a better option. But we're going to start with these beans. I love using beans. My kids are not fans of beans, so I have to sneak them into things, but they add so much more fiber to your diet, which is great. Especially for kids, it's tricky to get a lot of fiber into their diet. So, because they're not really digging the whole grain breads and things like that. So sneaking fiber into their diet, beans are a great way to do that. They're also high in protein, which is awesome as well. So it's a great little starter for this dish. I will take a can of beans. I will drain off the liquid, but I do reserve it. Now, I like to reserve it because I usually use it as the liquid to add back into my hummus recipe. You can use just water. Sometimes I forget and I just dump it out and I'm like, oh, shoot, I'll just use water. But you can use it either way. You can just dump off all of the liquid or reserve some of it for the liquid portion of this recipe. So I have my drained beans here and I'm going to add them to my food processor. They're all ready to go. Now it asks for a pound of roasted peeled beets. This is where you can get flexible and creative and make what's easy for you. If you have time to boil some beets and peel them and roast them, fantastic. It's a beautiful caramely, sweeter flavor. It's great. If you don't have time and you have a can of beets that you bought at the store that you want to drain off the liquid and pop in there, that's fine too. It's what works well for your family, because the whole point of making snacks easy for you, healthy snacks easy for you and your family, is making it easy. So not adding more complicated steps. So do what works well with your family. So you can use canned beets, you can use a can of cooked carrots, you can use boiled beets you do at home, boiled carrots you do at home, or you can use a nice fresh herb like the parsley that I'm going to do today. This is Italian parsley. I kind of like the way it blends up a little bit more. So we're going to use an Italian parsley. So instead of a pound of roasted beets or a can of cooked beets or carrots, I'm going to use about 2 cups of chopped parsley. So I chopped it all up for you guys earlier, and we're just going to stick this in here. This is a fun activity to do with kids if they've never worked with a lot of herbs. They're always so surprised how good they smell. This is a fun one. I do a farm to table program with preschoolers, and we grow these things and then add them to our hummus, and they love it. They get to kind of do something fun because I don't know, I grow a lot of herbs and I like to put them in things, but parsley's always that one where it's like, what do I do with all this parsley? It's a great recipe to use a lot of that up. Now, the next ingredient is going to be tahini, and tahini is kind of the signature, besides the beans, the signature ingredient of hummus. It is a sesame seed paste. So think peanut butter, but sesame seeds. Now, sometimes that can be a little hard to find. If you're in a small town like I am with a limited grocery store, sometimes it's tricky. But if you shop around or if you grab it when you're out of town, you can get some tahini. My kids prefer the tahini, but as an alternative, you can use a natural peanut butter, or you don't want a crunchy peanut butter, and you definitely don't want one that's super high in added sugar. But if you want to use a peanut butter instead of tahini, you can totally do that because sometimes tahini is hard to find. So it's a little bit less expensive alternative to use peanut butter. You only need a 1/4 cup of it though. So a little bit goes a long ways. I have a jar that hangs out in my fridge, and I don't have to replace it very often because we don't make hummus all the time, but it does just come in a little jar, kind of like peanut butter would. So you can use that as an option. We'll talk a little bit about it later, but we will have a post survey, and as a prize for participating in that, you get entered in a drawing for some tahini. So you'll be ready to make your hummus at home. Now, 2 tablespoons lemon zest and fresh lemon juice. So again, what's easy for you and your family? Do you have a fresh lemon? Fantastic. Go ahead and zest that. It'll give it a great, fresh, super light flavor, really bright. If you don't have a fresh lemon, that's okay. Bottled lemon juice is going to be just fine for that. So we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of zest and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. The juice adds a little bit of acidity and kind of cuts the heavy flavor of the tahini. So, and the beans, I really like it. It really brightens it up. So it's kind of an important ingredient. You could mix that up, and you could try, maybe if you did a cilantro, you could try a lime instead of a lemon to kind of go with that different flavor profile. So it's a very flexible recipe. Now, the last thing is you need a little bit of olive oil. So everyone's always, do I use extra virgin olive oil? Do I use regular olive oil? What do I need to use? It's basically based upon the processing of the olive oil, and that's where you get the different names. Go ahead and taste some different kinds and find out what flavor profile you like. Now, I'm working with kids. I have a lot of kids at home. I don't know about you guys, but my kids think like pancakes are spicy. I mean, anything with a strong flavor, and they're not so sure about it. And so I always like to use something, just the pure olive oil that's a little less heavy flavored, because it kind of masks in there a little bit, but you're going to need it because that's going to create your emulsion, and then you get some of those good fats for your body that your body needs. So I've got everything in here. I'm going to add, like I said, a little bit of the juice. Usually you're going to start with like a 1/4 cup of liquid, either your bean juice or your water, or a combination of the two. Sometimes you have to add a little bit more to get the right texture. Now, I brought my food processor with me today, and I am going to pop this little bad boy on here, but instead of making you guys listen to my food processor, while I do that, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself for a minute so you don't have to listen to the lovely, lovely food processor right next to the mic. Okay, we're back without anybody having to unplug or cover their ears there. So we have this nice, pretty consistency of hummus. So it makes this pretty green color. You can keep processing if you'd like to break down your parsley a little bit more. Your beets, of course, are going to blend in a little bit easier because they're going to be cooked and they're going to be soft. But you have this lovely, lovely dippable hummus, and it looks fantastic on the carrot chip. You can use pita chips, you can use crackers, anything like that to enjoy this dip. So it's versatile. You can add a little bit of garlic to that. Again, salt and pepper to taste. Anything like that that you want to add to your hummus, you can. I'm going to give it another little buzz right here real quick with a little bit more water, and we'll see kind of our final product here. Okay, so nice and smooth, it kind of smoothed out a little bit more. I'm going to get nice and close for you guys so you can see, but without dumping it right onto the table. But nice little fun snack. I like it. You can eat it just right out of the food processor, but you can also put it in the fridge. It will keep for about 3 to 5 days. Sometimes it'll separate a little bit if you didn't get the tahini and the olive oil mixed in. So make sure that you do that, but it's a nice, easy, quick recipe, and it's really fun for kids. So I'm going to have my chat helper launch our last poll to kind of look at a little bit what's coming forward. And like I mentioned to you guys, if you fill out our survey at the end of this that we'll post inside of our chat, I will also let you put you guys in a drawing for a jar of tahini. So as you can see, you just have a few questions again, kind of similar, just 3 questions like what we had before with, but kind of our post survey. So similar questions there. If you want to take a minute to answer those.
So we really appreciate you participating in the polls that we host for this series. We do look at that information. It helps tell us, if you're new, if we're recruiting new audiences, but also if we are meeting your needs with the content that's presented. I know that today Katie presented a lot of tips and tricks to help keep us going and that prep. So as she talked about, just as simple as peeling the orange to ensure that her children are going to eat it. It's just those little tips that I'm like, I need to do that. And so with that, these 3 questions are just, if you plan to attend future extension programs, if you enjoyed the lesson, and then if you do plan to use information from the lesson, do you plan to make some family snacks now that you have heard the content that Katie presented? So if you don't mind participating in this poll, we would super appreciate it. We're going to give it a few more seconds before we also share with you some of the upcoming information. I don't know if you were listening at the beginning, but that teaser that Katie gave us, that Abby Weber from Colorado State will be presenting next week on sourdough. And I am extremely excited for that content. So that's where we posted that link in the chat. And if you missed that, we're going to post that again. But then Katie also shared that she has a little item for the raffle prize. Sorry, I'm stuttering over my words. So for those of you that attended last week, and if you participated in the post survey that we send out, and we will post that here in the chat in just a moment, our winner from last week, which was Dutch oven cooking, that individual will actually win a Dutch oven cookbook. And the recipient of that is Mr. Mark Shoemaker. So Mark Shoemaker is last week's winner. He will be contacted by the presenter last week, which is Amy Robertson, and she'll be connecting with him to give him his Dutch oven cookbook. And then if you go to the link of the survey that we have, we're going to post that in the chat right here in just a second. And if you participate in this survey, it enters you into a raffle, and you would be able to be competing for Katie's prize today for her family-friendly snack. And so I'm going to post really quick in case you missed it at the top for next week's lesson to participate if you have not signed up or if you're unsure. I'm posting that. So we've got Sourdough, the Science and Tradition with Abby, and you can just go to that bit.ly there, and that will take you to the registration page. Whereas Katie shared with you, you can register for some, one, or all of the remaining lessons that are in our series. And then each week we record these, and then we do post those to YouTube, and we send out a recap email so that you may receive a link to the YouTube recording so that you may access it in case you miss it live today. So with that, we're going to see if anyone has any questions for Katie today.
So far, I don't see any in the chat, Katie, but there's lots of kudos for some unique and different ideas to make snacking more fun. So looks like they'll get a lot of use from these participants today. So kudos, great job.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know it's hard. It's hard to feed our families and we're busy and it's a mental load that we carry with us all the time. What's for dinner? What's for snack? What's for lunch? And so any ways we can make that easier, I think is wonderful because it's a lot. It's a lot to think about and carry and how do you feed your family well. So any way we can make that easier, I think is great. We'll give everybody just a second to, if you have any other questions, you're certainly welcome to ask those.
It says great tips, amazing how different shapes can make a child want to eat a fruit or veggie.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference when you're able to just make it a little bit easier for them. When you think about their, especially when they're younger, their little mouths, or make it more fun. It's a great way to kind of mix it up. You know, I don't know, the old standby ants on a log with celery and the peanut butter and the raisins to make it fun and exciting for kids to eat. It's just kind of going along with that idea and mixing things up for it.
Also always think that we eat with our eyes. If it doesn't look enticing, we're not going to eat it. And so for a 4-year-old or a 14-year-old, sometimes a dinosaur shaped PB&J is way more enticing than crust on a bread.
Always tastes better to have a dinosaur or peanut butter and jelly. I have a collection of different sandwich shapes. And that's something you guys can look into too, is make your own Uncrustables. There's different shapes you can buy and you can usually get a set of them. I got mine off of Amazon, but you can make your own stars and hearts and circles of Uncrustables. And my kids love that too, because it's fun and exciting. And then I'm the one eating the outside edges. Because after I've made 4, heart-shaped sandwiches, there's a lot of crust and peanut butter and jelly on the side. So that becomes my snack or lunch later on. So it works out because I'm not as picky about mine being fancy.
I think I heard you say that the crust of the bread is exactly the same thing as the inside. So I'm with you.
Yeah, I know, but some kids kids have a natural aversion to foods that are brown. And it's somewhere in our evolution, we develop this fear of brown foods, and it's hard for kids to get past that. And crust is part of that issue. So as you kind of can help them work through brown foods, and because we know a lot of our healthful foods are brown. So how do we work through that with kids and teaching them how, and like your sourdough, once they see the process and go, oh, wait a minute, I can eat the crust. I made this. It's different.
Great. With that, we look forward to everyone completing that survey so they're entered into the raffle drawing for today's prize. And we look forward to seeing everyone in a week from today for that lesson that Abby will be teaching.